film.
Is it a movie,
film,
or a film?
film.
Is it a movie,
Great movie.
or a film?
Fascinating
Is it a
film.
movie,
Love that movie.
or a film?
Haven't heard of that
Is it a
film.
movie,
It's my favorite movie.
or a film?
I'm a bit of a cinephile.
AMFers, welcome back for another week of Guestober. You're listening to
Movie.
Film.
Film. It's a podcast where we pick a flick and decide if it's a movie or a film. We're on YouTube all month, so check the episode description if you want to see our pretty faces. I'm Nate, and while Major Warren was captivating the crowd with tales of black dicks and white mouths, somebody poisoned the coffee.
And I'm Terrill. And what are you looking at, you queer? You scum?
And I'm Anthony. And they make this great 9/11 tribute shooter. It's like red, white, and blue, but you have to drink it fast or it gets all brownish.
That's Jennifer's body.
That's Jennifer's body.
It is.
We just watched that.
And yours is the Hateful Eight.
Yes. And Terrill's is Poison.
Wow, we got it all the first
That was
time.
Why'd you quote the movie that we're doing today? Is that the new thing?
I think it just really resonated with.
Yeah, it really just resonated. No, because like Jenna put it in my head that we could start quoting the movie, so I was just picked the quote from the movie. It was super easy too.
All right, but if you want to start doing that, we should have a discussion so that we're
should have a
both
discussion.
doing that instead of it's a thing where it could be the movie we're doing.
No,
or
it could be or
random-
it can't be. I didn't want to make it like a whole thing, but yeah.
But then it's not
It's
fun.
a thing now.
It's not
fun to guess because like the whole thing is like I don't know. I like guessing.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, we're talking about Poison today,
Yeah, we're talking about Poison.
and we've got Anthony here yet again. to this
Yet
episode with us.
again, a very welcomed guest.
But before we get into Poison, the 1991 Todd Haynes movie or film, let's talk about some other stuff we've watched this week. I mean, it's Spooktober, so I've been putting an emphasis on horror. And this week with Poison, I've been trying specifically to watch some queer horror. So I watched the Babadook, naturally.
That was the first one.
I was searching queer horror. It came up in every list. Of course, the Babadook is the monster that lives in the closet that also makes children's pop-up books about himself and terrorizes a grieving widow and her son.
Did he write?
And
the
it's
book?
not really about queerness at all, but
No, it
yeah,
became
the
a
gays
joke
have reclaimed
that took
Babadook.
on a life of its own life. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he lives in a closet, so I get that, but really it's about grief. But it was enjoyable to watch and be like, oh, it's that gay icon Babadook.
Yeah.
That's how I started my week. How about you, Anthony?
I've been my spooky season started like in September. Like
Mhm.
I've been going.
Yeah.
So this week, I mean, I finally watched JD's Revenge. I know Terrill was happy about that.
Yeah, I saw. Yes, I am very happy about that. It's a really fucked up movie, isn't it?
Yeah, like it has all like the blaxploitation staples, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of sexual violence and just like perpetuating like pretty terrible stereotypes. But like, yo, what's his name? He played
JD.
Ike and JD, the actor. Glenn Turman. What
Yeah.
a performance!
Yeah, he's really good. He really like transforms into like
Yeah.
this like
And it's just
old school pimp character.
He's oh man, and so like that movie's extremely quotable as well. Like specific JD quotes, like while he's possessed, are just so funny and out there.
Mhm.
Such as?
Yeah, I fucked your woman, sucker, or something like.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of great quotes. There's a quote in there that's on a Ghostface record where after he has
Yeah.
sex with that woman, she's like, "This is
Yeah.
the best fucking I've ever had." Yeah, that one. Yeah, I was just like,
It's so
ding,
fun
ding,
when
ding, ding, ding.
you like finally see these movies and you're like, oh, that's where that sample's from.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted you to watch it because when I first watched it, I told you like a year ago.
Really?
Because we were doing Red Lodge, Montana. And so we were doing a lot of David Lynch stuff, and we were just doing all that. And I saw that, and I saw so many similarities in JD and Twin Peaks
So
that
yeah,
I wanted you to,
I wanted to ask you about that
yeah,
because like I think I see like there's like certain things like I know there's like the possession,
yeah,
uh, and I guess some of the like the way that it's filmed, I guess. Like
yeah,
what else are you like? Is
yeah.
that the general?
It was the possession. It was like when he would start to like transform into JD, there would
Mhm.
be like this like blue lightning that would happen, like this like flashing of like blue and white light that
So
would happen.
like with Bob.
Like with Bob, and also like with Bob, when he was like looking in the mirror and he would see JD's
Yeah.
face, I was just like, yeah, these are like things that like popped up in Twin Peaks, and so I
Yeah.
wanted you to see it because of that, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and also because it was, I mean, it was good. It's fucked up,
Yeah,
but it was good,
it's a fun ride.
and it
It's
also just ends like really like happy go lucky, like yay, I'm not possessed anymore. Like let's just go home.
right. Uh,
So I watched. Speaking of fucked up, if we're doing queer cinema, it made sense to look at John Waters' picture. So I watched one of his horror movies, Multiple Maniacs. It was one of his early movies,
Mhm.
and it's fucked up, but it
Yeah.
has like that feel of just like a home movie in the sense that they're clearly just having fun making a movie, running around Detroit, uh, being a cavalcade of perversion, to use a quote from the movie.
Mhm.
But it's not really a home movie because it's like, well, it is, but it's John Waters' house.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of home movie.
right.
And it's super campy and rivals Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in terms of obsession with the Sharon Tate murder, in terms of just going in interesting directions with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't like turn into a horror movie until like the very end, but then it like goes hard in like, we're gonna make you watch something you've never seen before.
Yeah,
And I
John
won't
Waters
go any
loves
further
doing
than that.
He loves making you watch stuff you like you've never seen before, or like stuff that's like hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
That egg kid.
The egg lady ruined
Egg
eggs
lady,
for
yeah.
me. Egg lady ruined eggs for me. I tell you, eggs have never been the same.
Yeah, I just watched so much lately that I could just talk about. This could go in so many different directions. So I don't know.
Right.
I mean, and
I
you
watched
guys,
a lot of things too. Yeah.
we all know what each other watched. So like,
Yeah, because of we follow each other on Letterboxd, so we're just watching each other's
it's up to us to just kind of steer
diary.
this.
Yeah.
Well, we all watched Jennifer's Body recently, which you
Yes.
quoted.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's like one of your favorites, right, Anthony?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Uh, I, I don't know. I just don't know where to start with it. Uh, I mean, and I think it fits with the theme of this week that you guys seem to have
Yeah.
going here.
Yeah, that's
Like
why
a
I
queer
we all-
horror. But also just like extremely feminist at the same time, and like I don't want to say like ahead of its time, but like
No, I think the multiple uses of the R word would
right.
argue that it's in it of
Yeah.
its time.
Yeah, I know. But I guess like
It's
talking.
throughout.
Hmm?
It's just over and over again. They just kept, and like different versions of the R word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's not. But in like talking about things that now are being discussed in more like mainstream movies, like sexual assault and things like that, and that's just like I guess it like if Jennifer's Body without with script revisions came out now, like I think it would be a hit, and it wasn't back in when did that come out? 2009.
Yeah, 2009. Yeah, I don't. When you first saw this movie, did you like it? Like
yeah,
back in 2009. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if I liked it. I don't know if I liked it, but I think that was just because of just like the reception around it.
It was
Maybe
marketed terribly.
influenced that.
It was marketed
So
so poorly.
yeah, and it just got like a lot of like mixed reviews at the time. So I watched it and I was just like, oh, that was okay. It wasn't like bad. But I watched it this week and I found it like really hysterical. I found it really funny.
Yeah.
And just like really smart. It was really smart. And Megan Fox is really good in this picture. Great. Like she's like just the perfect Jennifer. She is. And I really love that it's about possession, but it's not about like the conflict of possession. Like she has like no conflict. Like she totally just like gives in to being like this demonic entity, and it's just like, well, this is what I got to do, and I don't have a problem with it. So what? It's really great. It made for a really great picture.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching that. Actually, I watched that with you, Terrill, but that was like it was one of the last movies I watched that night. But during the day, I'd watched two other movies that, in my mind, kind of go together as like a thematic trilogy. I'm going to call the Vanity Trilogy, because I watched a 1970s Italian adaptation of Dorian Gray, and I watched Neon Demon. It's both like queer horror looks at the cost of beauty.
Right.
And the Vanity Trilogy.
Yeah, it was just three great movies back to back to back. It was
nice.
Fun. It was my first. It was my first time. I'd never read. I'm familiar with the story just from like pop culture of Dorian Gray, but I'd never read it or seen one of the adaptations, of which there are many. But I picked this Italian one just because of the poster. It looked really, really cool, and I'm glad I picked that one because the look and the feel of it, and it's set in like 60s England instead of whatever time Oscar Wilde was alive for. And the guy that played Dorian Gray, Helmut Berger, is just beautiful, and the suits they put him in, the ascots, and it's really good.
Did you
I recommend it.
Did you plan that like those three movies? Like
after I watched Dorian Gray, I'd been thinking about rewatching the Neon Demon. So I just after Dorian Gray, I was like, let's keep this going. Let's keep rolling. And then Jennifer's Body, yeah.
Nice. I watched Jennifer Body. That was like the last one we watched that night. So it's pretty late, but it made me want to watch like Jawbreakers, and it made me want to watch Ginger Snaps. But it was like too late to like do that back-to-back combo.
Okay.
I haven't seen Ginger Snaps.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it.
Okay.
I would. I think it's really interesting, and I think it's kind of like there are moments when it's like kind of campy, but for the most part, it's pretty like gory. Nice. It's like it's just like a true form like werewolf movie.
Yeah, I mean Halloween. There's a full moon on Halloween this year, so I'm planning.
It's a full moon, and it's on Saturday.
I'm planning like a werewolf,
and there's a pandemic.
All right, so Mask of the Red Death, the Wolfman, Ginger Snaps. What else? Oh, you know what else has a full moon on Halloween? Hubie Halloween. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I watched that yesterday.
I know.
You reviewed it on Letterboxd. You said you would die for Hubie, so then I was like, okay, maybe I'll watch it.
You didn't like it?
I didn't hate it,
Okay.
which is the headline.
Yeah.
It's not one of the terrible ones.
I like it. I
Yeah,
really
it's
enjoyed
cute.
myself.
All right, you can tell the world. I mean, this is probably the most popular movie we're going to be discussing on this episode, so let's spend some time on Hubie Halloween.
We don't have to. We could skip over it. It's fine.
No, it's cool. A little Meyerowitz Stories reunion with Ben Stiller making a cameo.
True.
Adam Sandler having the Danny Meyerowitz mustache. Good cast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean it was like a Happy Madison greatest hits, with like a bunch of horror movie references.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a good time. It felt like The Waterboy, but instead of foosball, it's Halloween.
Yeah.
Which is
good.
like, okay, that's great for me. Like I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrill made me turn off halfway through when I was showing it to
I
him.
did.
So you have
I
no.
did.
You have
He
no
couldn't
interest.
finish the trailer.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know. I was at first I was really interested in it when I first heard about it, and then I saw the trailer and I was just like, oh no, this doesn't look great. I don't need to see any more of this. This was like probably a minute more of the trailer or something. So I was just like, yeah, let's just watch something else.
I think you should watch.
But you like this.
I love it.
Maybe I should.
I loved
watch
it.
No, it's not good.
You loved it.
Shut up, Nate.
Nate.
I think Terrill would like it.
Maybe I will.
Yeah,
maybe I
just
will.
go in with your expectations low.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a nice warm blanket.
It's very easy to watch.
Yes.
Okay. It's not long, is it?
No.
It's
Okay.
longer than it needs to be.
Yeah, probably. Definitely.
Okay.
But also the time on Netflix makes it look like it's longer than it is because they have like 10 minutes of credit, international dubbed versions that they credit all the actors on.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll check it. I'll try and squeeze it in. I've been watching so many things.
Yeah.
So many things. Like even like last week we did like vampires, and I watched like a few more vampire movies even like after that. So
I know. Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
You guys are doing like a theme, and I'm just like watching whatever like comes to my mind. It's so funny to see like, oh, they're doing vampires. Oh, it's queer week.
It's queer
And then I'm like,
week.
oh, I'm gonna watch Wuthering Heights and then The Wailing.
Yeah, well, you've been watching horror movies all month, and then I was like, Wuthering Heights.
It's like there's a ghost. I think it's appropriate. It's
Okay,
like
okay.
yeah, you know, it's a gothic romance.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like I realize I like that novel a lot, and now like I haven't seen any of the film adaptations, so I wanted to check them out. Andrea Arnold has one that I've been meaning to watch. So I'm working my way up. I'm gonna do Ray Fiennes and Juliette Binoche next, and then I'm gonna do the most recent one.
Reach the height. Let me know what the height of Wuthering Heights adaptations is.
Oh yeah, guys, watch. I don't know actually. Yeah,
Go ahead, say it.
watch Stranger by the Lake, but maybe not together, or maybe I don't know. Whatever you guys want to do.
Maybe not together.
Oh, I
What
was
does
gonna
that
watch
mean?
that one, but it's because it's very erotic, right?
Yeah, it's like super erotic. So I mean, if you're cool, if that's comfortable, go ahead, go for it.
There's murder
I
too,
could-
though, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's murder. Yeah. We like yeah.
Sex and murder.
Sex and murder.
Okay. Speaking of sex and murder, we watched Knife Plus Heart
Yeah,
last night.
Yeah. How is that?
it's good.
It's crazy. It's wild, entertaining. It's. I was watching it and I was just like, wow, this is like very my shit.
It's like
It's
a gay. How you say it? Giallo.
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 Giallo. Yeah.
Italian murder mystery horrors.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
actually, I meant to watch it like a couple months ago, but before I did that, I wanted to like check out classic Giallo because I was new to that genre. So I watched like Dario Argento's Deep Red and
Yeah, that's on my
bunch-
list.
What Have You Done to Solange? And the one I liked the best is Your Vice is
Oh, you're
shit. It's a
Your
very
Vice
long
is a
time.
locked door, and only I
Your
have
Vice,
the
yeah,
key.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yo,
almost picked that for this month.
watch.
I think you would like that, Anthony, because it's Edgar Allan Poe inspired.
Oh, cool.
There's a
All
black
right.
cat named Satan,
Nice. Okay, I'm watching that
and
one.
also it's fucked up.
Good. You know I love that.
Yeah.
You should watch
Yeah.
watch
That's
All the
what kind
Colors
of
of the
shit.
Dark.
Okay. Yeah, I saw you watching
Added that to my watch list.
Yeah, check that one
Yeah.
out. That one's something else.
Yeah, so it was cool to get a sense of that genre because Knife Plus Heart was just made a couple years ago, but is an homage. Or even I'd say it goes beyond homage. It kind of just takes the genre conventions of a giallo to just do its own thing. And I mean, my favorite thing about it was the score and the lights, just the lights and the sound. It was just an experience that flooded over you. And
Have
some
you seen,
some fucked up stuff happens, and they like don't really explain it, but it's just cool and mysterious.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Love Witch?
No.
You have
I've seen
to.
it.
Did you
I've
watch
seen it.
so is it an homage in like that way where it's like it feels like The Love Witch is filmed in the 70s or 60s? I forget what it was.
No, they
It's-
use
Yeah.
Knife Plus Heart uses all the everything that modern technology affords
Okay.
modern
Yeah.
filmmakers.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes place in the 70s, right?
Yeah, it's got the period, but
Okay. But
Yeah.
but not like that, not the like quality.
it's not like another movie I watched this week, The Lighthouse, which is shot as if it's like a 1930s movie. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
like
That counts as queer horror, definitely, by the way. Why'd you spill your beans?
Why'd you spill your beans?
That movie has some fucked up imagery in it.
mm,
And
Mhm.
also, the first time I watched it with Terrill on our projector, which is very loud. And we had like the subtitles to like read along, but this time I watched it with my headphones on and without subtitles to just, I don't know, it felt like a more pure experience. Though I really do feel like I missed out not seeing this in theaters.
oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was real good.
Mm.
What else?
Well,
What else?
Yeah. What else?
I don't know. I had something, but I lost it. So
I think that's all I want to talk about that I watched.
Oh, I want to talk about The Cured.
You want to talk about The Cured?
Yeah, I want to complain about it.
Oh, you guys didn't like it.
Oh my. So there's not a lot of queer horror.
Yeah.
And this one had an interesting premise,
Yeah.
but it is very poorly executed.
Oh no.
But the idea is that it's a zombie movie, but after a cure is already found. If they made 28 months later, that's pretty much what it is, but like not as good as that sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there was even then there was a definite drop in quality between days and weeks.
Right.
So I can imagine it getting worse with months, but
Yeah.
so it's even worse than I would imagine that to be.
Yeah, because it's just the movie begins with a paragraph on the screen explaining all the exposition, and then the whole first hour is the characters just repeating what was on the screen
Oh no.
that they already told us, and as if
Yeah,
it's
they
like an
repeat it a
intriguing
few
mystery
times.
that we have to discover, even though there's no tension. And like the idea is so cool that these people that were zombies are
is.
cured of being zombies, but still have memories of everything they did when they were zombies. But then the avenue they go down in storytelling to explore that is just so boring. And it's just like people sitting and talking. And then when they do slip into more overt horror, it's just zombie from the side of the screen jump and then gets punched right away or something. It's no tension.
Damn.
But I think it's interesting to talk about movies that don't quite hit the mark because movies are hard to make. And
They
it
are.
it helps
They
you
are.
not take the good ones for granted.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you?
I
I guess you didn't have any thoughts on it, Terrell.
Me? No, not really. I didn't hate it, but I didn't enjoy it. And I really, because like, I mean, she's like the co-star. I felt like Ellen Page was like maybe the wrong choice
Hmm.
for the picture. So I was just like kind of nitpicking at a performance, which is like I hate doing that to like actors.
Yeah,
But I was just like,
she wasn't cast well as a single mom grieving
yeah,
her widow. It's like a gay zombie movie, but Ellen Page didn't get to be a gay zombie. So
what?
that is the
That just
movie
she
in a
should have been the
nutshell.
gay
They
zombie.
have all the
Yeah.
ingredients to make like a really cool, interesting, cutting
Huh.
horror movie, but
Mhm.
Ireland fucked it up.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool to have a gay protagonist in a horror movie.
It was. Yeah. It was just like, yeah, gay zombies.
So
Yeah.
it kind of clouded my viewing of it because for the first like 45 minutes, I thought like, you know how Night of the Living Dead is about racism? So
Mhm.
I thought like this Cured was about homosexuality,
Hmm.
but it's not. And that was like clouding how I was trying to like trace that metaphor. I was like, wait, but this doesn't work because they're eating people like and killing.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't really work. It's just about class, but class schisms, and marginalized folks in general, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, it's not done well.
Mhm. Can I talk
Anything
some?
else?
Can I talk some shit on not a movie, but a streaming service?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
Wait,
that-
let me check. Are they one of our sponsors?
No, but it's the service that it hosted our feature this week.
Oh,
Movie.
Mubi.
Yeah.
I recommend
Movie.
everyone sign up for a 7-day trial to watch Poison because it's the only place I could find watching it. And use the code MovieFilm at checkout.
I wish.
Yeah, what's your
Yeah.
complaint about Mubi?
It's like it's like the worst like app I've ever encountered, I think, on a because like I have a Roku TV.
Hmm.
And their Roku app is so bad. Like it puts up like 30 films that they selected for you, I guess, or like they selected to put up that day or week or whatever. And then
Mhm.
there's no search function. There's no like look at
Oh,
other
that's weird.
movies in the collection. Yeah. So I had to watch Poison on my
Oh,
laptop,
wow.
which like, oh wow, big deal. Like
Yeah, when I first went to go watch it and I went to like the website and it didn't have like the functionality to like cast or anything. So
Yeah.
I just had to like I was just gonna watch it on my laptop. I was gonna watch it on my laptop. And Nate was just like download the app. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I downloaded the app and the function was there. Like it wasn't like I didn't have too difficult of a time with it.
Yeah.
But the app's not pretty. So I get where you're
they don't
coming
have
from.
they don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Mostly are doing art house movies and
It's true.
curated international cinema.
Did you read their like did you read their little like about us or like our mission?
No.
Oh
No,
man.
what was
Read
it?
it. It's just funny. Like I don't like I don't like the word pretentious, but
Okay. That
sorry, movie.
We'll be fine. Maybe.
Yeah. No.
All right. Should we get to our feature presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's play the trailer for Poison. it as it's presented because it's not in three different sections. It's cut between them and they're kind of in conversation with each other and the climaxes happen at the same time. And also that's how I structured my notes. So is that good with everyone?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was really taken by the structure of this movie. I haven't seen anything like that takes. I mean, I've seen movies where it's three different stories, but to do them in different genres, filmed differently, but all kind of telling the same story. Well, I guess it's kind of Cloud Atlas-y.
Yeah.
Yeah, another queer movie. So there's definitely something to that. The just deconstructing the narrative structure, deconstructing structure. Yeah.
I'm glad you picked this.
Good. I was
film or
scared
movie.
that you were gonna be
I've
mad
never
at
seen
me.
it. Yeah, because
I was so
saw
worried.
what did I watch? I watched Near Dark, and then I was like, you were like, you didn't like it, and I was like, no, because it wasn't a horror movie, and you was like, oh, you're not gonna like Poison, and I said, uh-oh.
You didn't like Near Dark?
What?
We're not talking about
I think more so we can talk about it really quick. More so that I wasn't prepared for the tone of Near Dark. Wasn't expecting it to feel like Point Break, but with vampires. Yeah. So I just was just like, what is this? It wasn't bad. I wasn't prepared for what it was.
How could you be?
Yeah, how could I be? I've never seen it, so and I didn't adjust well to it when I was watching it. So
Okay.
But no, yeah, I watched this one and
Good.
I really dug it. I did everything about it. It did have like element to it throughout, especially with the story about Richie, which felt like The Omen, and it felt like Halloween, to me.
I thought you were gonna say especially with the segment that's titled horror.
It's called Hero, right?
The Richie one is called Hero. The Dr. Graves one is horror.
And I like that one too. I like the whole like Twilight-ness to it. Like it felt like a Twilight
Zone
episode.
right?
Twilight Zone.
Okay.
Yeah, Twilight Zone.
I was like, I don't remember anything Twilight about that.
Stephanie Meyer's Twilight.
And even Homo felt a little horrific. A little horrific.
It does take place in prison. And
yeah, it does.
That's probably the one where we see the most horror.
Yeah, I thought that's what this picture was gonna be about. I thought it was gonna be like all about the prison story, because that's the only image that I saw from it. Like that's the image from on Letterboxd. So I was, when it first started, which we'll get into, I was very confused by what was going on.
Wasn't the Letterboxd image of him getting of the spit?
Nasty spit scene, man.
Yeah. We'll get to that. That's
Someone
the end.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, I think through the course of this podcast, I will argue that in a way, all three stories take place in prisons.
Wow.
Yeah. And that is why it's a film.
End episode. That's it.
Do you have any opening thoughts, Anthony?
No,
before we dive in?
Let's get into it.
All right. So it starts out with a quote. There's a couple quotes from Jean Genet novels. The first one is, "The whole world is dying of panicky fright." I should mention the movie's about homophobia. That's So that's the panicky fright with which is being discussed.
Mm-hmm.
So right away we open with the criminalization of queerness with a shot of the police. It's actually while the quote is on the screen, the whole world is dying of panicky fright. Before we see the first shot, we hear the knocking on the door and police open up. And then the first image is the police at the door. It's through the
Peephole.
peephole. Yeah, it's like the fisheye lens to give that look. And this is composed in black and white in the style of what 40s horror movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when like all the Universal like monster picks were happening,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, damn it. I forgot to talk about the old dark house because I
Ooh.
wanted to watch one of the movies that was kind of like this one, like the horror part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never mind.
We'll get it
We
next
can
time.
we can
Alright.
continue.
We can continue. All right.
So
So
that's
the cops break in, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
The cops break in, and it's a first person view. So what we see is someone hiding behind like a bookshelf or something, kind of peeping out, and then we see the cops walk in, and they see a body, and they're kind of like grossed out by it. And then they spot the person that they're looking for, and then that person like goes out the window,
Yep.
and
And
that's
the camera kind of follows the person. Well, we're in their point of view, but since it's black and white, the view outside the window is just all white. And so when the camera goes through the window, it's just all white, and that's where the cut is.
mm-hmm.
A hard cut into a very different look and feel.
Yeah.
But already there's a similarity because we just watched a guy go through a window, and now we're hearing about a story of a kid going through a window and taking flight. This is the introduction to the hero story, which is done in the style of a like 80s news expose.
All right.
True crimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a colorful documentary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Story about Richie Beacon, a 7-year-old who shot and killed his father, and whose mother claims saw her son take flight off the balcony.
Mhm.
So the introduction, all we get is just the voiceover and like the image of the family photo, and then some voiceover questions. What really happened the night of June 3rd? Who was Richie Beacon, and where is he now? And only one of those questions get answered, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have opening credits.
Yeah. Then we have opening credits.
In
I would
another
say
style.
this is the start of Homo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You were gonna say something?
No. I was just gonna say the credits are in the Phantom Thread font. I like that. Just the cursive. It's very classy.
Mm-hmm.
And the shot is there's this ominous music, and the shot is another point of view, and it's kind of like the shots in Giallo of the leather glove knife murderer, where you just see the arm off the side, but it's a child's hand rifling through his parents' things, slowly, methodically, spending some time on the different fabrics of his mother's clothing, like playing with a magnifying glass at one point.
Mm-hmm. A little coin purse,
Jewelry, and then especially mom's underwear.
Yeah. But this hand gets caught.
Gets smacked.
Yeah. By two older grandparents, or like guardians or whatever. And
Foster parents, probably.
Yeah, they start like shaming whoever it is that they caught, and then that's when we get the title card, Poison.
Yes.
Their voices are like muffled.
Mhm.
Like it sounds
Yeah.
like they're like it sounds like you're underwater and you're like hearing someone speak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
and
can't
then-
really make out what they're saying, but you know that it's not good.
I made out one thing. There was, "You're nothing more than a beggar, a bandit, a thief."
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we stay in Homo, and we meet an adult John Broom. I want to say his name is.
Yes.
And he is being inducted into prison, kind of like he's doing
Yeah,
like
I don't
that.
think that's really the
I don't
language
think
they
that's the
use, but
word,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not the word, but yeah, he's like doing the interview, talking to the head of the prison is.
Tell me
Or the
why prison will be
counselor,
right for you.
right?
But actually,
And-
prison, according to the voice, this whole segment, this portion has voiceover from John, who I didn't realize this. I mean, I realized that he was a stand-in for Jean Genet, but I didn't realize until the fourth time watching it that John is the American version of Jean. So I was like, oh.
Yeah, he said something about like embracing prison is like rejecting the world that rejected him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty much,
So,
he stays in
so in the
prison
way,
because of
prison
that.
is right for him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the guy behind the desk is doing paperwork, asking questions. We learn that he's 31, that he's been in and out of institutions. And then the guy asks, well, he doesn't really ask, he tries to ask. What he says is the state requires we ask if you engage in the practice of.
You know.
That's all he says.
And John is just like, yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes to write the word down, and he's like, is this word 2 words? Is it homosexual or is it homosexual?
Right, and there's just a close-up on the words on the form. He wrote it as 2 words, homosexual.
Yeah, and it's
just-
actually under like felony and like all that type of stuff that it's being labeled under. Yeah.
Did we mention that this is 1944 Fontenelle prison? I guess that's
pretty important.
Important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just the idea that the guy doesn't even know how homosexual is written. Like people, like the world just didn't have language. The mainstream society didn't have familiarity with the language to describe what these people are.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just labeled a beggar, a bandit, a thief. And they're tossed into prison.
Although he is a thief.
Yes.
Yes. We stay in Homo and we actually go to a flashback scene. I really like the design of these flashback scenes because it's supposed to be like an all-boy reformatory, but it's like a garden. Like they're out in a garden outside.
Yeah, I love the painted backdrops.
Yeah.
So, actually,
very,
that's how Quirrell. That's how Fassbinder filmed Quirrell. So that was interesting.
It really sets this weird, soft, romantic, setting for it. And we open up to a prison wedding between 2 men, but one with a veil holding flowers. So we see that although they are 2 men, that they are also they also have roles, and they subscribe to those roles. So one's the man and one's the woman.
And there's this really nice flute and finger-picked acoustic guitar. Just
I really
classical romance music.
I like the score in this one.
During this ceremony, my favorite shot is the close-up of the rings being pushed on like the fingers because it's very erotic and very gay.
They need to clean their fingernails.
They need to
though.
clean their
Well, they're in
fingers.
prison.
They're so
They
dirty.
need to clean their
There's
fingernails.
poison. It's poison. Let them be.
Yeah, it's dirt or something else.
They're dirt.
We've
They're
seen
scum.
what those boys do.
But so's everyone else.
True.
It's kind of Jean Genet's whole thing is like, we're all fucked up. I'm gonna just debase myself and find pleasure. I guess sadomasochism is his whole thing. But yeah, the world tells me I'm scum, and I'm gonna like it.
Yeah, that's so perfect. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Especially for Homo. Yeah. We move from Homo into horror.
Yeah, I want to read the quote.
The quote is so good, man.
A child is born and he is given a name. Suddenly he can see himself. He recognizes his position in the world. For many, this experience, like that of being born, is one of horror.
Yeah.
So that's why I included this week, or this month, for October. It's horror. It's real world horror of being born into a world that doesn't accept you for who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm realizing that you're different. You know that moment. So we meet. I was gonna say something else, but so we get like this very just like enter the Twilight Zone-esque intro of our character, Thomas Graves, who is described as a curious kid who has always been into science. And so we see like a close-up shot of a kid like doing like a fake needle, and we'd see like test tubes and like pouring of like liquids and all that stuff.
Can I just want to stop you right there?
Okay.
Just to emphasize how interesting it is that we start his story with about his childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So in all three stories, we get glimpses. I mean, Richie is a child, but we get glimpses of the childhood of queer folks and how that the conditioning and just the formulation of identity and the rejection, how that can affect people. So we start with Graves as a child, and all he wanted, he was hungry for knowledge. This man's sacred quest for truth was his first and only love, science.
And his life work is researching the human sex drive.
Yeah, it's very. This is like the campiest segment, the horror segment, because it's the acting is stilted and the tone is wacky, but also just the idea that they're performing the story as like an old-timey sci-fi thing when it's just about AIDS. And it's not really about a doctor. It's about a guy that's trying to explore his sexuality, and then what happens because of that when he gets an infectious disease. So yeah, he presents his findings on the sex drive, and right away is shot down by the Academy. Yeah. He says that his research can provoke a dramatic reassessment of geriatric research and end paralysis as we know it today. But and right away, this old guy is like, yeah, I demand he be reassessed. And then another guy right away stands up. I agree.
I agree.
So, yeah, it's almost like mainstream culture isn't so keen on people exploring the sex drive.
So he combats that and says, I'll prove myself. You know, I'll get back to it. And so he does. We see him in the lab, and he figures it out. Like, he's able to get the coagulation of.
They use that word a lot.
Lots of jargon.
There were a lot of words.
Scientific jargon going on.
A lot of jargon, yeah. But it's like coagulated, like serum of like he's captured the sex drive. Yeah, it's captured.
Yeah, we get that at the end of like a test tube beaker montage thing.
Love that.
With some emphasis, a close up on his coffee cup, which looks very similar to the crystallizing dish that he's putting the serum in. Uh-oh. Right when he accomplishes molecular coagulation, in comes Dr. Nancy Olson.
Didn't expect a woman. Oh, a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what
she
he
wasn't
says.
expecting him to.
Yeah.
Just her introduction with a lot of their scenes between Thomas and Nancy, they're doing the thing, which I brought up maybe on the first episode of this podcast, whenever we watched Bohemian Rhapsody, and I was making fun of that scene where it's two characters facing the same direction and like very far from each other. It didn't work for me in that movie. In this movie, it's hilarious. So she's just like far behind him, and he doesn't turn around to face her. He's just in his own world with the serum. So
I feel like
she
that's
says,
so...
Dr. Graves? He says, yes, I'm Dr. Graves, and I've just captured the sex drive.
Yeah.
And her reaction, that's marvelous. It means molecular coagulation theory holds true. And she just starts spitting back all the jargon at him.
Yeah.
She's a fan of his work. Eventually, he turns around to confront her, and they shake hands. And there's this moment where she has to recompose herself after shaking his hand because
Yeah,
she's
she
being
has to,
introduced as a professional
catch her hand.
colleague, but
Yeah.
she has to like get herself together because there's clear tension between them.
Clear attraction going on.
Just that the emphasis on the performance of like, oh, now I have to act this way. Like that's just so campy.
And so yeah, after this moment, and they say goodbye. Thomas is distracted, and without looking,
she's walking away. We gotta talk about her hips walking away.
Oh yeah,
The way Nancy walks away is like so much emphasis on the way she's swaying her hips. And Dr. Graves is just staring at that. So the coffee he's gonna be drinking isn't gonna be coffee.
The old switcheroo.
It's actually the sex drive.
Oh.
He drinks the sex drive, and he is horrified, and his world begins to spiral.
Yeah,
and we actually
as
see
illustrated
the
by a spiral.
Yes, by a spiral.
Spiral, very reminiscent of a butthole. Just putting that out there. It looks
Just
like
butthole
a
spiral.
Okay.
It's going spinning over him.
Butthole imagery.
And
his head's like all slanted, and
yeah,
it's the shot zooming in on his face, and it's like fading, and we get like already flashbacks of that conversation he just had with Nancy from seconds ago.
And the next morning, he's like checking his hands, checking his face, making sure everything's all right, and everything at this point seems to be okay.
Well, he seems worried, and then the world.
No, he's worried, but like there's like visually nothing that he can see or that we can see at this point.
Yeah, and then we have a hard cut to color, VHS quality, and it's that cliche shot just going down the street of the suburbs, just at the houses, and the voiceover, the quiet residential community of Glenville. Could not believe what happened. I don't know. And we get our first two talking heads because this is the hero segment, which is like the mockumentary part. So the first eyewitnesses we get are neighbors Florence and Evelyn, and God bless Florence and Evelyn.
Oh, this is great.
They are sitting on this very 80s blue sofa. One of them's in this bright orange house dress, and the other one's in a floral house dress. Behind them is on the wall is like ceramic mushrooms. And they're talking over themselves. They're talking over each other.
Yeah, they're all trying to get like their 15 minutes of fame. One is just like, I heard the gunshots and trying to tell that story. And then the other one begins talking over her and it's just like, you never know who lives here. You know, you never know who people are. And you can see one of them is clearly frustrated because she looks over at her and rolls her eye and just like, oh, I can't believe her.
Yeah, the thing, you think you know people, that's going to come back in one of the other stories. We hear from the police. Apparently the investigation about Richie went on over a year, and his face is still on milk cartons.
Yeah, he's real proud of that.
Yeah.
Real proud of that.
And then we hear from his mother, Richie's mother, Felicia, who tells us that his father hit him just like any other kid.
Yeah.
But also that he did not realize that he was a gift from God.
Wrote that down too.
Which is very curious early on, just the different ways the story of Richie is told through the different members of the town. Almost Faulkner-esque.
Okay.
I lost my note, guys.
What?
Your note?
I lost my notes.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
My notes are gone, so now I'm really dependent on Nate to like stare.
Well, you hit delete by accident or something?
I think I did. I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we cut to Homo.
Yeah.
And it's right like after Richie's mother said, I didn't realize he was a gift from God. And then it's this overhead shot of John at the reformatory and just lying on the ground against the tree, touching himself. And it's just this it's kind of heavenly.
Yeah.
Even though he's been not free. And we get some voiceover. We get to hear more about his childhood. And when he was a child, he had a terrific knack for theft. And he was in and out of foster homes. Eventually, they stopped taking him. That's when he was sent to the reformatory.
Yeah.
There, in the counterfeit world of men among men, he found his true family, where each male had a male of his own.
And there was beauty in that.
Yes.
There was beauty in the force of love.
Hey, you remember? Did you find your notes
again?
again?
remember. No,
No,
I just
I
remember that.
That's off the dome right there.
That's off the dome, yeah.
Yeah, and then after that line, he says, "And I decided to dedicate my life to the study of that beauty, or to find that beauty."
Yeah.
Which mirrors the voiceover in the beginning of Horror. Dr. Graves spent his childhood studying science, dedicating his life to science, the sex drive.
And then he says something like he would meet his deliverance, like he met his
16
deliverance.
16 years later, in Fontenelle prison, came face to face with my deliverance, Jack Bolton. And of course, we get the height and weight: 6'3", 175 pounds.
He does it.
It's so intimate. Yeah.
He does the height in inches, which I thought was funny. Like it's like so like clinical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's the only time you ever hear like inches
Google
height
it.
is like when you're like at the doctor or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And our introductory shot of Jack Bolton is from the ground up, or the feet up, and just very close up. You get the whole body, the whole 6'3" body. So Jack Bolton was at the reformatory in Baton with John. That's where John knew him. But now they're reunited years later in prison. And the scene of their reunion is just watching one prisoner assault another.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone just stands by.
I really like the contrast between the flashbacks and like the present day of the story, because the present day is like really cold and blue and like stark and lighting, like very high contrast, and the flashback is like this fairy tale, kind of like how maybe you would think about the past, like with nostalgia.
Right.
Almost.
John looks back on those days at Baton very romantically.
Yeah. But the current picture isn't that at all. And yeah, there's a man assaulting another man, kind of one dominating the other in a way, really just like teasing him in front of the other inmates. Mm-hmm.
John recognizes Jack from Batten, and there's like this. They don't say anything to each other. They just look at each other. It's like a silent recognition, and then they quickly look away.
Mm-hmm.
And then right then a guard appears, like from up top, to call out the scene that's happening with the bullying, but not to stop it.
Yeah, hey, what's going on?
I thought it was funny that he only spoke to the black inmate.
Yeah,
He only questioned the black inmate, who was like off to the side having a cigarette.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little intersectional commentary on there.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But then it continues after the guard passes, and the whole time John is just watching Jack watch that scene happen.
Mm-hmm.
To just like see what his reaction is to the kind of violent homoerotic teasing, bullying, assault.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the prisoner that got called out walks by the bullies and is like, "Why don't you marry him if you love him so much?" And the bully says, "Me marry him," and then spits. And then we get another glance between Jack and John, because they were at Batten where the men were marrying each other.
Yeah.
Where Jack attended John's wedding. Yeah. And then we get the quote, "Love comes slyly, like a thief." And we go back to horror. And now Graves is at the bar. McGoverns.
Leper sex killer on the loose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. He's there sulking, pretty much, just having a drink by himself, feeling pretty down. We can see that there's something on his face, by his lip, but we don't know exactly what it is. And so this woman starts to like really hit on him.
A sex
more
worker.
than yeah, she starts to like really just like rub all over him, and he's like kind of not into it. He's kind of like, what the hell is happening? Yeah.
Yeah, you could say he's not into it.
He's not into it. And she doesn't take the cue, and she kisses him. And when she kisses him and she like the kiss breaks, you can see on her face that now she has something.
Yeah, right.
So whatever
away.
it is, right away,
Immediate.
it's contagious and it's immediate. It's very quick. Yeah.
And then she screams.
She freaks out.
Yeah, so he abducts her in a panic, kills her, drops the body and runs. Yeah. When he drops the body, you get this close up of her face and you see that it had already spread. Yeah, and then we get the old timey like newspaper front page shot. It doesn't swirl into the frame, but it's still like the front page newspaper headline: "Leper sex killer on the loose." And back to Hero, where he cut abruptly to the once again. Just going from the newspaper painting Graves as the leper sex killer to now the expose that's painting Richie in all these different ways. It's just kind of having that cut right there speaks to the way that media frames the gay experience and how queer people rarely have control of that narrative. So we hear about how Richie was a complicated boy. Intelligent but withdrawn. And how they say that he was horribly bullied is that this is how they say, instead of saying the kids were really fucking terrible to the child, he's always beating the shit out of him, they say, what's strange is the amount of animosity he induced in other kids. Like he
Right.
induced the
It's his fault.
animosity. Exactly.
Yeah, he was the one that made them so angry that they had to beat him.
Hmm.
One of the kids actually says, "Yeah, he was just a kid you wanted to see get creamed."
Hmm.
Yeah,
And apparently, all these cases of Richie getting beat up, he never fought back. He would take it and just get bloody.
yeah.
And then we hear once again from Felicia's mom. She says he was the perfect baby. No fuss, independent, always coloring, doing private things.
Playing
Games.
private games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like he had to invent his own little worlds to occupy because the world he was in wasn't accepting of him.
Mm-hmm.
We go right back to Homo with a very erotic sharing of a cigarette, which is cigarette smoke is a very dominant image in Jean Genet's short Song of Love. Also, Jack asks if John has a roll, and John gives him some, and it's like he keeps his roll in his pants, so like he pulls it out from the front of his pants. It's very
Gave him some
erotic.
dick bread.
Gotta keep it warm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack thanks him, but John says, no problem, batting. Like, just brings that up. Like, we have that connection. Because John remembers it very fondly, but Jack brings up that he doesn't. He had a different experience. And then we get more voiceover from John about how Jack Bolton now, in his life now, contradicts his memory of him. And we get the flashback about what Jack was like in Baton. Apparently, he wasn't 6'3". He was a very small kid, and even John bullied him.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, yeah, leave me alone. Don't mess with me. You better not mess with me." But he clearly has a boner. While he's talking to Jack.
We cut back. No,
go ahead.
I was gonna say we cut back to 44, but if you had something else about that flashback.
No.
All right,
yeah,
so now John's alone in his cell, kissing his hand and talking about all the lives he imagines for himself and John every night, and then emphasizes that he always gives them a violent end. And violent end is the last thing we hear before cutting back to horror. And it's the silhouette of Dr. Graves, of course, drinking more, just disheveled, not feeling great about what's happening in his life.
Yeah.
And he gets a call from Nancy.
I like her performance
Just
here.
checking in. Oh, I love her performance through the whole. She's my favorite character in this.
Yeah.
And because she's so like wide-eyed and dreamy,
Yeah.
and she's just having a totally different experience than him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's trying to connect with him, and he's just like not having it really. She even for a moment thinks he hangs up on her.
He does hang up.
It's really funny.
No, he does.
Oh yeah,
on her.
He does. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you get her saying, "Thomas,
hello,
Thomas, hello,
yeah,
hello, Thomas," like 3 times. And then eventually we get the close up of the deadbolt lock from the inside of Thomas's apartment, and Nancy's coming to his door. So I'm knocking at the door. And then he opens the door, but it's still got the deadbolt lock on it, so it's just the slit, and you get the very fast back and forth of their faces, and it's Nancy seeing Thomas's face.
Yeah.
And I wrote down the whole line that Thomas says. So I'm going to read it. Do I look lascivious, like the pitiful, decrepit result of some hideous indulgence? Well, take a look, because that's exactly. Then he opens the door. What I am.
It's actually like it's like this build up, even like with the music and like his monologue, and then when he gets to "that's who I am," he kind of just was like, it's like real defeated and not threatening at all, as he had been.
And and then and then Nancy's reaction before she can have her real reaction, they have her go, Dr. Graves, and he says, please call me Tom. And then she says, Tom, what happened? That for me is the funniest thing in the whole movie. And so he tells her that he ingested the serum, and she says, the whole thing. And then somehow the entire next part of the conversation is they're back doing their thing where they're on opposite sides of the room. Thomas is facing the mirror, looking at himself in the mirror. And
I like the mirror shot.
Nancy like turns around during it, and she's trying to say that he's okay, but Graves is like, then look at me. And there's like at least 3 like dramatic turning arounds.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out Nancy's not disgusted. She's heartbroken.
No. Yeah, she's heartbroken, and she tries to like
Heartbroken that this
comfort
had
him.
to happen to him, of all people.
Mhm.
'Cause
Yeah.
he's such a good man and such a good scientist.
Yeah.
And
I was
hugs
nervous that she hugs him. I was nervous she was gonna kiss him
him.
at this
She
moment.
tried. She tried.
Yeah.
He said, don't.
Don't. And
And
so
then we
yeah,
cut.
they just embrace.
Mhm.
What's the next cut?
Hero.
Hero.
Alicia talking about her son. He was a meek soul. Something sad about human nature is we pick on those who are weaker. So we're gonna get some more details of all the bullying Richie faced.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
hear,
Greg Lazar.
yeah. Well, first we hear from the custodian,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I like his name, Edward Comacho, and he's wearing like the rib tank top.
Yeah.
Who says he was troubled and I picked him out of fights. I've had to pick him out of fights in the cafeteria all the time. Kids just always beating on him. And then we hear from one of his classmates, Sean White, not that Sean White, who said he was one of those kids you just wanted to see get creamed.
Yeah.
And
Great
then
quote.
I think Terrill's favorite part, Hazel, the school nurse.
Oh yeah. She was like, yeah, one day I didn't write it down, but she was like, yeah, one day I was giving him a shot and he called me a fatso. I could have hurt him.
He says, I think he was evil.
He was evil.
So literally the person whose job it is to physically protect him
Mm-hmm.
believes he's evil. We don't get any context as to why Richie called her a fatso.
Yeah.
Just that he might be evil. He called me a fatso.
Yeah.
And then the gym teacher talking about all the different shenanigans the kids have pulled, putting stuff in his milk, skinned knees, and then the big one, he caught slightly older kid with him, Gregory Lazar, in the equipment room, quote, really giving it to him.
Yeah.
So now we hear from Gregory, who's credited as a friend, who right away says the principal's lying.
Yeah.
And I like how we just heard from the gym teacher, not the principal. But he's saying Richie kept bugging me. He made me.
He made me do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all the detail we get for now, because we're back at Homo. And this is a big reason why I wanted to not break up the discussion between the 3 stories, because now, after hearing all of the trauma that Richie faced, we get to see the scene of Jack showing John his scars and all the physical manifestations of his exploits.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, I don't know that many other words for erotic, so I'm just going to keep saying erotic.
Yeah, man. Showing scars, like scars
Right
are
under
hot.
his nipple.
Scars are hot. Like just
The
in
scars
general.
are hot. Yeah.
The first one he shows right under his right nipple, there's the potent line that connects to Richie's story. He says, it was from when I was a kid. At that age, when you get something like this, you think you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just these things being much bigger when you're a child without perspective that it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another on his waist.
Yeah, so he pulls down his pants a little,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
apparently
John is
he got
like
that from crashing at church. which
looking
is
up.
apparently bad luck.
He's at this position where he has to like look up at him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just the it's so the lighting
The
is
lighting.
so interesting because it's very dark, but except for just the things that Todd Haynes wants you to see, which is just the
The
skin
nipples
and the star and the scars,
scar.
and then John's
Yeah.
eyes on him. His eyes
Yeah.
are almost like glimmering. Is that a word?
Mhm.
Shimmering? No.
Shimmering?
No, I think
Glint. There's
Glimmering.
glint.
Glimmering's a word.
Okay, glimmering. And of course, there's another scar under the other nipple, which is a
Yeah.
little harder to see. You
Mhm.
get a close up of Jack's fingers just grazing his nipple as he's talking about how it was from a needle. He says Latvian needle.
Hmm.
So, drugs. Ways to cope with the horrors of the world. As the movie progresses, the cuts between the stories become more and more frequent. Because previously all the homo scenes segments have been like multiple scenes, but now it's just that scene of showing the scars, and we go right back to horror.
Mhm.
And Nancy is trying to make the show Dr. Graves that it's going to be okay, that he just needs
Yeah.
to put on a happy
He needs to
the
get
world
out
with
into
a
the
smile,
world.
and it'll smile back at him.
Yeah.
So
But actually, the
they're
world
walking down the
spits back
street,
at him.
arm in arm. He's got sunglasses on. Nancy's telling him not to be scared. They approach two young girls with a crib because heteronormative gender roles are taught early. So let's give our little girls cribs to play with. Nancy just says, hello. And the girls just spit on Tom and run away. And that's not the last spit we'll see.
No.
And now they're going to be eating hot dogs
Right.
outside a
That's-
diner.
That's what you do when your face is dripping off. You go to eat
Yeah,
some hot
fluids are
dogs.
oozing from his face onto the hot
Yeah,
dog.
so gross.
So
Yeah,
nasty.
she has to get a napkin and like dab it for him, and everyone from the diner is like looking at them,
Mhm.
like not
Yeah, no,
blinking
unlooking.
at all. And she's just Nancy's trying to make the best of
Yeah, she said.
Whoa,
Oh.
Uh,
that was cool. A little
I don't know what that
drama.
was. Okay, Nancy's saying, "Don't worry about them. Ignore them." Then she starts
Mhm.
singing in his ear, I guess, to calm him down. I don't know.
Yeah,
But he makes her stop. Says, "I can't do this."
and runs off.
But
Yeah.
I'm in love with you.
Oh yeah, she does confess her love.
And once again, he urges her to look at him. And he says, think about what you're saying. And then he storms off. And then she once again says, Thomas, Thomas, Thomas. And back to Hero. Now we're hearing from a social worker who, unlike other people, has some very nice things to say about Richie. He was very gifted and imaginative and would tell these fantastic stories.
I love
Hard
the follow
cut.
up to that.
Hard cut to a teacher saying, he was a chronic liar.
Chronic liar.
He liked controlling people.
Mm-hmm.
And
So we
then
hear more from the kid, right? From the friend.
Not yet, no. We go
Okay.
to the neighbor who tells the story about one day. I think it was a Sunday.
Yeah.
In her backyard, she thought it was a deer, but it was a naked child, and he squatted down in front of her and pooped and ran away. So she just,
He
He's
did
a complicated
BM.
kid. I like the way she said he did a BM. She can't even.
I had to
say it.
stop. Like I had to stop and think about it. I was like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "Oh, right."
Yeah. It's the most polite way that she can say it.
yeah. So what a weird story, and maybe a sign that something's not right in that house. But she didn't do anything. She just went back in her house and locked the door.
Yeah, what do you do if a kid just takes a shit on your lawn,
Easier to just not deal with it.
right? You're in shock, probably.
Now back to Homo, specifically the flashback. We got 3 stories, and one of them has flashbacks.
Right.
Yeah.
We're getting our
Uh,
money's worth. With
I'm reading.
Poison.
I'm reading one of the novels that this was partly inspired by, Our Lady of the Flowers, and similarly keeps going back and forth. It's like Jean Genet is a character in it, writing the story we're reading from prison, and he's like takes these long interludes to just remind us that this is all in his head, but also it's like himself, and also he just makes up these characters for something to masturbate to. Um, and it just like travels through time in a way that I'm not used to reading, similar to how this movie is structured in
Do you have physical copies of these books?
no.
Oh,
I had to
okay.
find them online. I got from the Cherry Hill Library, the only Jean Genet they had is a collection of some of his early essays. So that was the first thing I read. So I have a physical copy of that. But no, the real good stuff is in his novel.
Yeah.
So back at Baton, we get the big time to shine for young Damian Garcia or John Leguizamo.
I had no idea he was in this movie, and when he showed up, I was like, "Oh my god!"
It's
It was such a great
him.
surprise.
That phase.
Yeah, he
I love
is
seeing John.
Chanchi.
This call is like hunting. This what are they saying? Like a
Looky Lou, like to looky Lou, like to
like to
looky.
looky Lou? Yeah, like to looky.
Yeah, John is a looky
Um,
Lou, and Chanchi is the head bully who has young Jack Bolton in his posse. And John is watching someone else piss. He's being a looky Lou. So Chanchi's doing the looky Lou. It's all the kids joining in the chant.
yeah.
Then he approaches him and he licks his finger, and then drops his hand into John's pants just for a moment, just to tease. I think he winks and then walks away.
Oh, he doesn't wink. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
real.
Definitely
Yeah.
wings. And
This is a
John
crazy. No, go ahead.
John is into it. There's
Right.
this moment where you can see it in his face. His face almost blushes, almost gets a little brighter, just so you can see his face, the expression on his face, and the ecstasy that he feels when Chancho fingers him.
Yeah. I don't.
What were you gonna say, Anthony?
Does John Leguizamo come back in this movie? I don't remember.
I think he's spitting at the end.
Yeah, he's
Oh, right.
spitting.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
He hawks a big loogie. that one's gonna be a star.
Yeah.
So we go back to Fontenelle in 44, and John and Jack are talking about their lives of crime and the different jobs they would do. Sean talks about how he always brings a stiff as a partner. I forget what stiff is. Some classification of gay man, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But Jack says he would work solo, though it's not what John heard.
He starts to kind of press him about his relationship with this man named Nick, and trying to see if they were a unit, like more than just like crime partners. Yeah.
Well, when queerness is criminalized, that the act of love is a crime. I know they were also thieves, but you know, the whole talk about like jobs and heists, it could also just be read as relationships. But Jack denies his involvement with Nick.
Yeah.
And then he interrupts himself because another prisoner passes them by, and Jack decides to yell at him. The quote that Terrill used at the beginning. Look at you fucking queer, you fucking scum.
Yeah. So now he's in a
And-
different position than he was as a kid. He's learned to not be one of them, right?
Not to be fucking queer, fucking scum.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Not-
Yeah. I mean, in a way, he's like yelling at himself,
Yeah.
even though it's another character.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's
You
being
become
he's being coy.
self-hating.
He's being coy about his history with this Nick fellow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so yeah, they get into a little really close encounter where Jack has John up against the wall, and he's calling him out for pretending to be a tough guy, but it's like you're the biggest fruit in here. Yeah.
And then guard interrupts them with a flashlight. And then we cut to this scene. The first time I saw it, I was like, what are they doing? Like, it definitely looks like fucked up prison, like punishment. And then you realize what they're walking around. At first I thought it was like a fire pit or something, or a well maybe. But it's just this overhead shot of prisoners walking in a very small circle, just walking in the circle. One of them, Jack raises his hand, and the guard watching over him says, "Go ahead." So then Jack gets up on this ladder and starts shitting.
Yeah.
So this is, I guess, what they do for part of their day is they have to walk around in a circle, and if they need to shit, they've got to do it in the middle of the circle.
Yeah, their recreational activity takes place around the shitter.
Yeah. So we get some voiceover from John that Jack is being taken in by the big shots. He's
They have their
the
eye
big
on
guy,
him.
Ras, the kingpin, had his eyes on him
Yeah.
since day one. So we see John watching Ras, watching Jack take a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And their friendship is in danger.
And then as we hear the sound of the plop, it cuts, hard cut to flowers and soil. And then it pans up. And then we see young Jack having sex while John looks from afar. Because he's a looking.
He's actually having sex with the guy that John married at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if that meant anything to John or not.
It did. John's
but
jealous.
Yeah, John. Yeah, John says, even says, it doesn't. He doesn't like that people have sex without him.
Yeah.
Which, it just means, I guess he's just like jealous. He's always been into Jack, but he's never acted on it. Yeah.
No, I think it's the other way around. I think he's mad that his husband is sleeping with another man, it being Jack.
Okay.
Yeah. But now Jack has reappeared in his life as this big tough guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now back to horror. Nancy's running around looking for Thomas. And people on the sidewalk as she's passing are just like staring at her, talking about her. And they're all like kind of horny for her.
Yeah.
Because a side effect of the deformity is sexual deviance.
Mm-hmm.
And she notices a man who has similar face to Tom.
Yeah,
and then
spread.
And then because she was running in heels on cobblestone, she trips. Don't run in heels on cobblestone unless you're a pro. So she's accosted by a masturbating man.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she
I
sees
didn't.
Tom in the
I
window
thought-
of a bar. Through the window of a bar of McGovern's.
Mhm.
She's still fighting for her and Tom to happen.
Yeah.
She thinks they belong together. In fact, she gives this big speech about that very thing and kisses him.
Yeah.
And just as they're kissing, the camera like pans out and we see the TV in the bar giving a news update on the leper sex killer. There's been 4 victims, it's spreading, and sexual violence is on the rise. So be on the lookout for a dark-haired man with intense eyes and a badly infected mouth. And there's a
Jesus,
very
wow.
dramatic pause as Nancy like puts 2 and 2 together.
She says,
Yeah.
"You don't know anything about that, do you?"
She's like just now.
Right, paying attention. It's just like, oh no, it is you.
Yeah, and then it's so sad though that her attitude
Yeah.
completely shifts. She's just like scared of him now after being the only person that was supportive of him, and he was pushing her away, but she was insisting that they be
Yeah.
together anyway. But now that she's hearing the stories of everyone else, I mean, there's 4 victims, but
Yeah.
we can talk
And
about
she's
the
just
age
like,
gap.
why didn't you tell me that you were contagious?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I didn't want to scare you away. And he goes to hug her. And we see that it's already starting to spread on her.
Yeah.
Nice little reveal to a little breakout on the back of her neck.
Yeah, and she runs away.
Yeah, she's just like, I need some time. I need some time alone to think about all of this. And yeah, she's off. She's gone.
So interesting that this came out in 91, like right after, or maybe still during, like the height of the AIDS crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe at the tail end. I guess during production.
Yeah.
Just a really interesting take on the stigma of AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Homo. The circle around the ladder where people poop off of was interesting, but even more interesting to me is the prison napping room, I guess. What's the deal with that? They're just
Yeah.
all lying on the ground napping together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my
Yeah.
guess. I mean, it's shot like it's just a prison napping room and that's what's happening. My guess is they're on lockdown.
Yeah.
But the way it's filmed this is like the most romantic part of the movie, I guess, right? It's just very close shot.
Mhm.
You don't, if someone just walked in the room while you're watching that scene, just from the context, they wouldn't be able to tell that it's 2 prisoners because it's just their bodies taking up the frame.
Mhm.
And John is sleeping next to Jack, who is shirtless. John's awake. Jack probably is too. And John is very slowly putting his hand towards Jack's crotch, but then goes to his own until then going back to Jack's.
Mhm.
And then there's this moment where Jack jolts. So we see that he's like not really asleep. But
Yeah, there's like
John
a
stops for a
slamming of a
moment.
door.
Yeah.
There's a slamming of a door, and I believe it wakes Jack up, and then
I
he
think he was
stops
awake.
him. Uh, maybe.
I wasn't sure.
There's
Yeah,
this
I
moment
wasn't
where
sure.
he jolts, and then John
It felt
continues,
insensual.
and then it gets even more uh,
I mean, yeah, we see some penis.
intense. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we see
Explicit.
We actually see some full frontal. Yeah.
Yeah, hands go down trousers and come back up, holding Jack's penis.
Mhm.
And then the louder noise, I think the one Terrill was talking about, makes him like jump up.
And then there's the cut.
I read
Yeah,
this
there's
moment as before
there's
John can pull away, Jack holds his hand over John's. That's how I read it.
I read
Right.
it as he's been caught, because then there's the quote that says, I can't remember it exactly, but it's
I'll
like,
read it.
my hand is on my heart,
My
and my
heart's in my
heart
hand.
is, yeah.
I have it
And
written down.
oh, go ahead.
My heart's in my
Better,
hand, and my
better.
hand is pierced, and my hand's in the bag, and the bag is shut, and my heart is caught.
Yeah.
So I think Jack needs to pretend to be asleep to be okay with the
Yeah.
intimate moment.
Okay.
Though there is rape later on, so it's dicey.
Yeah. I felt like all the sex in Homo was non-consensual, even if it was presented in a soft, romantic tone. I felt like it was all about dominance and submission. So I didn't feel any different about this scene. Yeah.
Yeah, Jean Genet writes a lot about having his own morality that vastly differs from the common morality. What things he needs for pleasure are looked down upon by society.
Yeah.
So we have that quote, and we go back to Hero, and we learn about a time Richie was admitted to a medical center with injuries to his thighs and back. And we hear from the doctor that Richie's parents blamed the school children, but they were vague. And there were other strange circumstances, like infectious genital discharge, sharp yellow in color.
Yeah, Richie had a STD.
I guess so.
Yeah. There was some abuse going on at home. Yeah.
Possibly going beyond just spanking.
Yeah.
Because then we go back to Greg, his friend, who talks. We get a little more detail about the scene in the equipment closet. Greg's saying that it was all Richie's idea and it was a game. Richie said, I'll be the son, you be the dad, and you're mad at me. And Greg says, and I didn't want to do it, but I was forced. And then like the camera person says, how? And Greg says, Richie just kept laughing until he made me want to do it. So, just spanking him, going at it.
I'm trying to picture someone laughing at me like so much that I just have to spank them.
Right. It's very kind of it seems like Greg found pleasure in spanking Richie.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know how to like
kind of needed
process that.
Yeah, kind of needed it to be the pretense of playing these games for them to have this intimate moment.
Also, if his
which is why I read the prison napping room scene that way, because
okay.
Yeah.
The scene with Jack and John obviously mirroring Greg and Richie.
Mm-hmm. But there's also like that when like, because Greg also might be a curious kid or a gay kid, and when you're a kid and you get caught doing something sexual, and then you have your parents coming down on you and they're worried and they scare you, you start to make up this story where it's something that happened to you. You know what I mean? Where like
it's not your fault.
It's not my fault. It was the kid wanted to do it. I didn't know what I was doing, type of thing. You know what I mean? It's also I also interpreted it that way as well.
Yeah. Also, from Richie's point of view, obviously him having Greg be the dad kind of shows these sadomasochistic impulses coming
tendencies,
through. Yeah, his finds pleasure in being spanked.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same. It goes back to John Broom's early voiceover line about embracing prison as a means of rejecting the world that rejected him. So spanking is you're supposed to be being punished, but you know what? He's going to embrace the punishment.
Yeah.
Make the most out of it. Whips and chains excite me.
Okay.
All right.
He may be bad, but he's perfectly good at it. Then, once again, we hear from the social worker, who says that the mother's account of him killing his father and flying away came directly from one of his stories. What do you make of that, Anthony?
Why are you asking me?
Oh, I haven't heard from you in a while.
I deleted my notes.
All right.
It happens.
You want to go back to horror?
Yeah, I mean, I was using this as my. No, go ahead. Yeah, let's go.
All right. So now Graves is wandering around at night, and it's the disoriented nighttime wander where the headlights are very bright and the neon signs, and you hear like the buzzing. But he eventually sees a woman he believes to be Nancy at the end of an alley with a man. As he gets closer, he sees that they both have the deformed faces, and they laugh at him. Was it Nancy? I've watched it 4 times. I'm still not sure.
I don't think it was. I thought it was the first time. I was like, that's Nancy. But no, it's not her. It's the actress that looks like her. Also, by this point, they kind of look like the lady in the Radiator.
Oh, from Eraserhead?
Yeah, they kind of look like her.
Yeah.
Because it's like all over their cheeks.
Yeah. No, there's like this, especially this segment is very Lynchian and like Cronenberg as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Body horror.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I was getting that too.
So Graves finds Nancy at her house, and she's on the couch and not looking so good. In fact, she's dying.
She's dying. This is like the next day, mind you.
Yeah.
I believe it to be.
And her famous last words are, atmospheric toxins changed the magnetic field. That's what spread the disease. Don't blame yourself. And then she croaks. Yeah, that's nice. Victims of AIDS aren't responsible for the disease being spread, and shouldn't blame themselves as much as especially then society was urging them to. Unfortunately, Thomas doesn't have much time to consider this statement, because right away there's sirens. And so he says, now it begins.
I like that he says that because like
it's the beginning.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the movie. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Back to Fontenelle Prison. Jack's with his new friends. John approaches, takes a drag from Rass's cigarette, and blows the smoke in Jack's face.
I like the way he does it. It's like very like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice and smooth.
Yeah.
And then John and Jack
Backward script. Yeah.
Then John and Jack are alone, and John calls. John calls Jack a slut, and
yeah, you're a slut. You know it.
Because John wants to be with him, but Jack says, "No, leave it alone. We can't be together." Because he really cares what everyone else thinks. He says everyone else thinks. He can't really finish his sentence until he eventually says that you're my man. And that's when we get the voiceover that John can't stand the thought of someone else having sex without him. And that thought transformed him, made him mean, icy, stiff, glowing like a sword blade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to horror. And we get the opening of the movie once again, but from a different point of view. Now we see the cops knocking at the door. We see what they see when they walked in, which is Nancy's body, dead body on the couch. Even though she said that he's not to blame. Doesn't seem like anyone else feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
They run to the window. Yeah.
They're selling Dr. Graves masks outside of the apartment building.
Yeah.
I don't know if I just thought that was I thought that was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that move is really funny because it goes from the news reporter to people gossiping about him.
It's like
to
the sensational.
Get your Graves mask. Yeah. Get your Graves merch.
Yeah, and that's where we get the repetition of you think you know someone when you live near them all those years, which we heard in the hero story, but now it's coming up again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was when, because Tom escaped via fire escape to his office, but that's the mask and the scene is the next segment. This one ends with cops chasing him down the street and just joined by men, women, and children.
This is the funniest part to me. I don't know.
Funny,
I was
but
just
also
like,
sad.
Yo, I was like, if the town people start chasing him, I'm gonna laugh. And then there was like these little black kids. It was just like these random low back, and like they were also like side by side with the police officers. So like that image is like real funny. And yeah, so like everyone is like chasing him down now.
Yeah. And we cut from that back to Hero. We're gonna get some more details about what caused what's kicked off the murder. Which is that the dad was stressed because Felicia says that she was busy and Richie kept getting hurt. And he always wanted to know where I was. Camera person asks if Fred was mad at Richie. And she says, no, he was mad at me because I wasn't spending enough time with him. And he was angry because he just fired the gardener, a Spanish boy named Jose. And then it cuts back to horror with the big scene outside Graves' office. Yeah. He's hiding behind the curtain. He's breaking mirrors, smashing a portrait of himself. Because, identity. Who am I? What have I become?
What have I become?
Yeah. And the police sergeant has the megaphone and he says, we can stop this menace to society and stop the spread of this despicable contagion. Then back to Hero.
He says like, that, but there's a man in the crowd.
Yeah.
The stores on his face.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, they can't stop it.
No.
Yeah.
But they think that by vilifying the victims, that'll make them feel better. I don't know.
Yeah.
So now Felicia's telling a story about a day that Richie sprained his wrist, so a teacher drove him home. And Richie walked in on his mom and the gardener, Jose, in bed together. And the camera there's like a reenactment, and the camera is from Richie's point of view. Like the camera's going through the house, up the stairs to the bedroom. And it's like the empty bed, but you're just supposed to picture it. And then later we get to see an image of it. But first we go back to Homo. We're getting towards the end, so it's really going back and forth.
Quicker, yeah.
John is silent, and he's waiting for Jack, who passes by. And at this point, John is up on like a step, so he's taller than Jack in this moment. John's like pretty short though. But now he's taller and he's got like this mean mug and he's completely silent, just staring at Jack. Because, as we heard in the last Homo segment, he's grown cold and icy and mean. And Jack says, "What's wrong with you?" and then slaps him.
Yeah.
And then back to horror. Sirens. Graves' office is a mess. Police chief with his megaphone saying, "We've got you surrounded. You're ordered to make yourself visible." And then we see the masked salesman. Graves peeking through the curtain. Back to Hero. We get to see now Mom and Jose in bed. And the way it's filmed is Richie at the door, like a kid at the door, and then it's like a split screen effect where
Yeah.
This is my favorite.
It's really
shot.
interesting how they shot it. Yeah, it gives it like an air of like a magical quality almost, with it being a separate shot of inside the door, and then the way the camera moves,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
just like pointing out the artifice, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Why is it your favorite, Anthony?
It's because if I'm remembering correctly, there's like a zoom on
Yeah, the mother's
Felicia's
face.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, taking up the whole space.
Of the doorway. Like
Mhm.
specifically, like her face is framed in the doorway. Like
Yeah.
yeah. And it's because it's an over the shoulder shot of Richie
Mm-hmm.
witnessing that.
Mhm.
And that it like somehow it's more effective than if it were just a first person shot.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure
adds
like,
to the
how
to
to
the
explain
creepy
that though.
effect.
Yeah.
It has the creepy effect of the situation, and that's also aided by her voiceover of saying like when she made eye contact with him, he had this weird expression on his face.
But you never see his face.
You never
Right.
see his face. She's like, yeah, it was like he was like he was saying in like an old oath or something. But he wasn't saying anything. He was just saying it with his eyes, and it made her feel ashamed. She felt shame.
The same look he
She
gave her.
also,
Yeah.
when
When
she caught him being spanked by his friend.
no, by his
No.
father.
It's his father.
Oh,
Yeah.
by his father.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the same look Richie used to give me when Fred was spanking him. Like a silent oath in another language. His face was so weird, made me feel ashamed. The idea being Richie wasn't horrified by being spanked. He was pretty okay with it in
Yeah.
that moment. And
Mhm.
Felicia expecting this kid to act a certain way and to instead have this calm look, similar to him witnessing sex for the first time, makes her feel ashamed because she's coming to the situation with her ideas about sexuality and just feeling super bad about cheating on her husband.
Mhm.
And the spanking scene is filmed the same way with I think you said that. Yeah. With him walking in. And yeah, I think it's important that they link the Richie witnessing sex for the first time and him getting spanked, that they put those two together to say he had the same face, that they have that right before the rape.
Yeah.
Or is it the ambiguous lovemaking or taking? Because we go right back to Homo, back to the scene we just were. Now Jack's hitting John harder, and John starts to fight back. Jack spits on him, and they fight. They're pretty
It's
close. Their bodies are
yeah.
very close to each other.
There's heavy breathing. It looks like the way that it's shot kind of looks like they're like kissing at certain points during it, and
At
yeah,
one
it
point,
just seems like
yeah.
it just seems like it just looks like really intimate, like this like really intimate fight that's happening.
Yeah, eventually John gains the upper hand and he does kiss Jack, and then holds him against the wall and penetrates him.
Yeah, this thing goes on for a long time.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay. I mean, we're still here. It's still happening. He even has to like has time to like use some spit as lube, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
The
this really weird scene where you don't know what you're watching exactly
Mm-hmm.
because the rules of the world are are different from ours, right? Of this world of like of 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 man on man love and violence, right? And just how I guess normal that is. That at first when the rape is happening, it is very painful, but then there's this moment where it shifts to Jack submitting.
Yeah.
Like you can clearly see like the submission
Yeah,
happen.
he actually says towards the end, you don't need to stop. But then John says, I already came and I'll do as I please. So
Yeah.
he stops. But so what starts out as rape and continues as rape, Jack eventually does submit to it and offers to have it continue.
Yeah.
But at this point, John isn't interested in that. He just wants to take what he wants to take.
Yeah.
During this very long scene, with the shadows is really interesting. Their two shadows are kind of coming together as one. I noted that.
Oh, okay.
And we cut back to Batten, where we get the flashback of bullies forcing Jack to hold his mouth open, which kind of mirrors the rape scene we just saw. The bullies are forcing him to hold his mouth open so they can stand from a distance and spit at him, which begins as this horrible, like, who wants that scene, but then all the spit dripping down his face, and eventually rose leaves start falling down, almost like confetti. And it's once again this. I mean, it's this time young Jack, but this thing starts that he didn't consent to. That can be seen as disgusting, or spit's involved in both. And the way it ends, once he submits to it and finds the
beauty in it.
The beauty.
But I was like, oh,
He
I don't
finds
know.
the beauty.
Yeah, I mean, it's flower
submitting.
petals. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's this close up. It's almost like in cartoons, the characters that are sad have the rain cloud just above them. It's almost like Jack has like this rain cloud of rose leaves falling just on him. And you get like the shots of the sky and the boys like almost on a trampoline, I think. Is how it kind of looks.
Like the George Lopez intro.
Yeah. It is. You just see the top of their heads popping up and like spitting and then disappearing.
Like jumping and spitting.
Yeah. Yeah. It was at this scene where I was just like, this. I mean, they're all kind of like taking stories and just like subverting them. But it was like at this moment, I was like, this is like subverting almost like gay porn and just like the whole like jailhouse theme. And just like when you just like that idea of like cell inmates, and so you probably have like the new guy that comes in who's pretty soft, and then you have like the really tough guy who takes him and makes him his, right? And in those scenes there is like lots of dominating and submitting, and there's also a lot of spitting. So it took that idea of something sexual as like spitting, and then makes it really horrific, because it becomes this really like tough scene to watch someone getting spit on.
Horrific, but then it becomes gorgeous.
Yeah.
When he takes pleasure in getting spit on, as as shown through the
Yeah.
rose leaves, and then it
Yeah,
cuts
he
to a
drops
flower,
his knees. Yeah.
and then when we cut back to black and white to finish up the horror section, it starts with like a black and white time lapse of a flower blooming.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is like this is like the weird like Twilight Zone intro
Yeah, the Rod
of,
Sterling.
of
Yeah.
the horror story at the end of the horror story.
Yeah. Little Rod Sterling thing. Science tells us there's always a reason a star falls or a body is ill. Religion does the same. This is the story of one man's quest into darkness. And then what we see are like uh, microscope, and my favorite shot is just light refracting through a prism.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like, oh, how do I explain that? Just the way that different things are interpreted and go in different directions and are taken differently. Yeah, and then he says, this is the story of one man's quest into darkness, true or false? Both. Yeah.
Mhm.
The complicated child. So it's a stormy night. Dr. Graves is on the fire escape of his office. Right when he steps out, the first thing you hear is just a baby cry. Also, he looks
Audible
worse than ever.
gasp.
This
He
is
looks
the
so
final
bad.
His
stage.
final form. Yeah.
And he has this speech that he yells. You think I'm scum? I'm dirt? I'm just like every one of you, but you'll never know it. You'll never know what pride is, because pride is the only thing that lets you stand up to misery. Not this kind of misery, but the kind of misery the whole stinking world is made of. So just like because this is a part of this movie, this 50s sci-fi horror segment just allows Todd Haynes to just really tie a bow around the whole thing by just because the genre conventions allow it, he can just have a character
Just
give a
say it.
speech that's just
Yeah.
the thesis of the movie.
Mhm.
It's beautiful stuff. And then he jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are his
Yeah.
last words. It's a point
Actually,
of view.
those aren't his last words.
What?
Those aren't his last
Oh,
words.
true.
Yeah.
It's his last words before he jumps. And
Yes.
we get the point of view of the camera falling. Just like onto the faces of the onlookers who don't run away. They're just watching it. They're eating it up, the whole scene.
Yeah. I was like, did he land on anyone? Did someone break his fall?
Then he wakes up surrounded by doctors. The shot kind of reminds me of the end of Parasite. Just the doctors surrounding the hospital bed. Spoiler on Parasite, I guess. And one of them has their ear to Graves' mouth. They all think he's out of it, but he starts muttering something. And he says his real final words, which are, I can hear the angels farting on the ceiling.
And it's a shot of an angel or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a weird old man.
Yeah, weird old man with wings.
They have like loud wings too. Like it's like birds.
Like chicken wings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we go back to Fontanelle to wrap up Homo, and it's this close up. Oh, the close up of Graves' face after he says, "I can hear the angels farting on my ceiling," matches really perfectly where it cuts to the close up on John's face, and it's just a slow pan on his face as we hear a prison alarm and guards shouting and gunshots, and then voiceover saying that 3 days later, Rast took Bolton with him in escape. Rast made it all the way to Orleans, but Bolton got shot by a prison guard.
Yeah. It's not a happy ending. It's the
It's
violent ending
violent
he had in
end.
mind.
Violent end.
Yeah.
And then Hero is what we end with. We get the most details we've had yet about that night of June 3rd. Fred found out about his wife's adultery, bought a gun, went crazy, was showing it to his son Richie. We see Fred holding the gun at his hysterical wife and hitting her and asking her to tell me who else knows. And then Felicia tells us that he fell asleep, so she put the gun in a drawer. But then he woke up and started beating her again, which woke up Richie. Fred throws a lamp at his wife. And then we see from Richie's point of view him pulling the gun out from his pants, like where John kept the roll. You know, guns are pretty phallic. And he shoots his dad, who falls on top of his mom. And his mom says by the time she got Fred's body off of her, she saw him at the ledge, the window. Before she could shout, "Don't jump," he jumped. And he flew up. And then we got I really
like the way that whole sequence is shot. The whole reenactment is really good. And also it's really satisfying because you heard about him flying off, and then you actually get to see it
from his point of view.
Right. Yeah, from his point of view.
Yeah, the last shot of the movie is the same as the last shot of Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, with the woman looking out at the window of a person who just jumped, but then looking up, and then the camera drifting up, and it kind of being this metaphor for, I guess, actualization. Because now Richie's flies off. He's out. He's done. Out of her life. And we fade to white for the first time. All the text has been on black background, but now it's a white background with black text. In our final quote, "A man must dream a long time in order to act with grandeur, and dreaming is nursed in darkness." And it is credited. I mean, they're all Jean Genet quotes, but this last one is credited to Jean Genet. And then the rest of the credits for the movie happen.
That's Poison.
Yeah, you mean the film?
Yeah.
Yes. You know, actually, after talking about it for a while, I think I've convinced myself it's a movie. No, it's a film. It's a film.
Yeah.
It's a film made from ingredients of movies.
Yeah.
But like different movies, and then all put together to make this new thing.
Yeah.
It's a Frankenstein film.
It's a Frankenstein
It's
film.
new queer cinema.
So
it was like one of the first movies that marked that movement in independent queer cinema.
Interesting. I would like to see more films from this queer movement that happened. I don't think I've seen many of them. I haven't seen this one until now, so I would like to see more of it, more of what that's about.
Watch some Gus Van Sant.
Yeah.
That's Poison. Do you guys agree that it's a film?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's agreed.
All right. Any other thoughts?
Do I have any more thoughts about Poison that I would like to share? No, other than I liked it, and it made me feel it like, I don't know how to put it into words exactly, but I haven't seen a movie that made me feel.
It's a film.
I haven't seen a film that has made me feel as aroused and uncomfortable.
Oh, watch Stranger by the Lake.
Watch Stranger by the Lake?
Yes. Okay. Absolutely, man. I want to talk to you guys again after you watch it.
Okay.
Because it's like the sex in this, and it being so ambiguous and like, but like rape and sexual assaulty.
Mhm.
It's the complete opposite in Stranger by the Lake. Like it's all consensual and just and like beautiful, like and just really good sex too.
Mm.
But there's this lurking danger and darkness that's not related to that at all.
Mm.
So
Okay.
yeah, when you guys watch it, we're gonna talk about it.
Cool.
Okay.
But do you, Nate? Do you have a point of view about Richie's story and how it relates to the end of his story, like or his mom's story of what happened?
Um,
As
the
far as
fact that she sees him now as an angel who like delivered what judgment from God onto her. Like I think she
a gift
sees
from
him
God,
that way because he killed her abuser,
yes.
and also like in a way forgave her for her sin of adultery.
So it's like the
So
stories that he was writing are like a prophecy almost.
yeah, I don't think he flew away
No, well, yeah,
literally.
yeah, yeah.
I think
So what
he's
happened to
he's
Richie?
I think he went to New York City or San Francisco, you know? Just like the stories of many lost queer kids in that
Yeah.
time. They got out of that fucking what was it?
Small
Quiet
town.
suburban town.
Mm.
Yeah, get out of that small town. See the world.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Or he ended up in prison and embraced that.
Yeah.
Oh, I never said it. Yeah, like the quiet suburban town is the prison, as is
Right.
the I don't know.
Society is the
Yes.
prison.
Yeah. Yeah. I've said enough about this one. I talked about it for longer than the runtime of it.
Yeah,
so I'm satisfied.
we really relied on you, Nate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't delete your notes again.
Come
I
on,
had-
man. You're better
They
than
really
this.
just went. Whew, they just went away.
All
I
right.
was like,
Well,
oh no.
Anthony, where can folks find you?
Oh man, I don't know. We just did a show, a digital show for the Fringe, but I think that's down now. So just look out for. I'm gonna be selling candles soon. Yeah, so look out for that. Next time I'm on, I'll probably have
Yeah,
more.
you
I'll
owe me a
probably have-
candle.
Yeah, I got you. And
Actually.
I just recently like made a scent that's gonna be part of my main line, and you're getting one because I think you'll like it a
Okay.
lot.
Can I get one too?
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll
All right.
talk.
So keep your eyes open for candles from Anthony. Do you know what you're gonna call your candle business?
Yeah.
But you're not ready to go public.
I mean, I'll be here again.
I want to get the scoop.
I'll tell you.
Let
I'll
us
tell
have the scoop.
you.
You can find us at MovieFilmpod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Email us moviefilmpod@gmail.com to complain that I didn't pick a real horror movie. And tune in next week for another episode of
Movie.
Film.
Film.
This movie's
Poison.
Poison.